Hello, Lamblike here. I am now a brunette. Ooh. I changed my hair. Not the biggest deal for me. So here is the list of all the cultural differences I've experienced in the last month. Cars get really close to you
when you're walking to cross the street.
and it's been freaking me out. I didn't really notice this before. I don't know how or why, but when I'm at a crosswalk to cross the street and the person who wants to turn around the corner, right, they get really close to you when you're in the crosswalk. Every time I stop, I'm like, because I think they're gonna like keep going and hit me, but they always stop. But
I met a German guy who's living in the US.
He was driving there and he said that he was freaking out Americans because he was pulling up too close to people and he had to learn to give Americans a lot of space, otherwise they just freak out. America's a very wide, spaced out place. It's just a giant country, and I think people underestimate how big it is. So I wanted to show how big the US is. So to get from San Francisco to Los Angeles, it takes about 7 hours, and this is a tiny little chunk on the map. And I also looked it up, so from North Dakota to the middle of Texas, it takes about 20 hours. And then from the top of the country, Hamburg, to the bottom of the country, Munich, it takes about 8 hours to drive, which is pretty close in comparison to Los Angeles to California. So I think maybe that's why in America we just are used to so much space and like people don't get so close to each other and it freaks us out when people are close to each other. But in Germany, just like most European countries I've noticed, it's been here for so many centuries.
So people are more accustomed to being super close to each other here, I guess.
Then sourdough bread. I am so sad. I don't know how I have not noticed this sooner because I love sourdough bread. Back home in the US, sourdough I think is pretty popular. It's like, it's so good, but mainly it's good because I have a very sensitive stomach and it's like the only bread that doesn't irritate my stomach. And if you look up sourdough bread, a lot of people with digestive issues use this because it's made with a different process. Yeah, I was really surprised because Germany is bread land of the bread. If you want bread, you come here. And people love their bread, so I was really surprised that I don't see sourdough bread. And let me know if you're German down below, is there anywhere you can go to get sourdough bread?
Here's a picture of my favorite sourdough bread back home. It's from Trader Joe's. It's delicious.
And then I've been learning you can't say certain things in German that you can say in English. Like our German professor or teacher was telling us an example, and I was just laughing so much because it just was making me giggle. It was the German word vermissen, because we were learning about feelings, and she said you can say to someone, I miss you. Ich vermisse dich, I think. And she said you can't say
Ich vermisse den Zug.
And yeah, so she said you can't be heartbroken by a train, is what she said. Like, I miss the train. I miss the, So you have to say verpassen. You can't say vermissen for that.
I mean, when you say I missed my train, like you were too late and you missed it.
And then one of the words I've been hearing a lot lately, which this is seeming to be a segment in each of my videos now, but the one I'm hearing a lot is naja. I'm probably saying that wrong. It's spelled N-A-J-A. Naja, something like that. Let me know if you're German down below. How do you use that? When do you use that? I'm seeing it as like a, naja, like, yeah, that's right, or something like that. And then, very funny, so I had my visa appointment. I got my visa. Woo, I'm legal here.
But I forgot to bring this one paper with me to the visa appointment.
And she told me, okay, can you come back at halb sechs? And I was like, yeah, kein Problem. And so I was like running home, and then I was realizing, wait, I learned about this in my first German class. It's a trick. Because in English, if you say like 6:30 or something, people are gonna assume you mean...
The really common phrase I would always hear my dad saying is 7:30 or half past something.
Half after that hour, so like 7:30. So I called my German friend and I was like, just to make sure, is halb sechs, is that 6:30? And she's like, no. I'm like, oh, thank goodness I asked.
So halb sechs or half 6 would be 5:30, not 6:30.
Because I was about to miss my visa appointment. So I'll never forget that, because that would have been so bad. The next point is, really, I didn't want to talk about this because I just hate this word so much. So I don't like this slut shaming thing. I don't like the word slut. I think it's awful. Double standards is like disgusting to me. Anyways, beside the point. So, bitch versus slut. Ugh, so cringy, I hate saying this word. But, so I've been noticing Germans are using the word, bitch, and they mean slut. Because in American English, maybe British English I'm guessing too, when you describe someone as bitchy, that means they are mean, they are grumpy, they're upset. It just means they're acting mean. That's it. Bitchy. If someone's a bitch, it means they're a real, like, they don't treat people very nicely. That's what it means to us. But in Germany, I've noticed bitch has a different meaning, a different definition. So it pretty much to them means slut, which is, I have to like watch my wording because like if I describe myself as like I'm really moody, then I have to be like, okay, I can't say this to a German person like, oh, I'm feeling really bitchy right now. I can't say that because it means something else, and that's like a PSA, a public service announcement, so you don't get lost in translation. Yeah, you don't want to announce to your German friends that you're feeling promiscuous. Awkward. So, okay, 40 degree versus 90 degree washing machine. Okay, in the US, at least my parents' house, the washing machine just asks you cold, warm, or hot. That's all the options it gives you. And usually back home, if I put it on hot, like I'll expect my stuff to shrink a little bit, but not like super shrink. So when I first got to Hamburg, I wasn't aware of this and I had no one to help me. I didn't know anyone at the time. And so I just put my stuff on 90 degrees. If you're German, you probably know what happens after this. So I shrunk all my clothes to like an unbelievably small size. So now I'm well aware that you should wash your clothes between, I think it's like my German friend told me 40 I think is the number, so I always put my stuff on 40 now. And they taught me that 90 is good for like the things you want to disinfect, and I didn't even know that. Like I always just assumed the wash is disinfecting everything all at once, so I've been learning a lot living in Germany. Like the practicalness of a washing machine. I've noticed the men's fashion here is that the men are wearing these short jeans with their ankles showing. If I find a picture, I'll try to put it here. They wear these jeans with their ankles showing with sneakers.
Usually white sneakers.
And the women are doing this as well. And when I first got here, I thought like the first person I saw with these jeans that were like, because they're not like capris, which capri pants for us are in the middle of your lower leg.
Seen here in this photo.
So I was like, okay, they're not capris, so I thought maybe they shrunk their pants like I did. And yeah, and I was like, at first I was like, oh, that's embarrassing when I see people with this like this much gap between their jeans and their ankles. Because where I'm from, that is not in fashion, I don't think. It's been a while since I've been home, so maybe it's now in fashion, I don't know, but never seen that really before. And it's just weird to see this on men because I originally never thought of this as like a manly look, but now I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool looking. And then also I noticed like the really fashionable, trendy looking men, they'll wear these
medium height boots.
Like a little higher than what I'm used to seeing on men, and they tuck their jeans into it and it looks pretty fashionable as well.
Here's a photo to illustrate, but I've also seen brown boots, not these black ones.
I've noticed that German people will say, I like to do sport. And I didn't understand what that meant before because I'm like, what sport?
Like soccer or football or one of those types of sports. The word sports to me implies a team.
You can't just say I like to do sport, you have to specify what sport.
I mean, if you're in the US and you said this to an American.
But then I realized after a while, with the context, what they were trying to say, which was they like to go to the gym. They like working out at the gym. So in the US, we say, I like going to the gym, I like working out at the gym, I go to the gym. That just means if you work out, you just say, yeah, I go to the gym.
Or maybe you might say, I like to exercise, or I like to stay fit, I like to be active, one of those.
But here they say, I do sport. I've never heard Germans say anything about going to a gym because they have a different word for it here, which makes sense. So this is sort of embarrassing. I think it's just from being from California and not being used to trains. So one of my friends lives pretty close to a train track, the train, where the train passes. When the train passes, the room just shakes a little bit. And it's so embarrassing because I can't get it into my head that there isn't earthquakes here. And I'm so used to earthquakes. Like, I've experienced many earthquakes. Never a big one, but just little ones are, since you're little, you get taught how to handle an earthquake in school. You always have earthquake drills. And so here, every time that train passed, I'm like, oh my god. And I just freak out a little bit. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, embarrassing. Because there is no earthquakes here. So every time a room shakes, a table shakes, I get a little scared. Maybe that's just me, but yeah. Cultural differences. Natural disasters are a little different in different places. And trains. No trains back home. You know, when the bars go down because the train's about to pass. Like, I think I'm the only one who's like looking at like trying to see what's on the train. Like, it's just so exciting. The noise is just so wow. But everyone else is so, you know, their sensory receptors in their body are just totally bored with it because they're used to it. Like, it's just a train. But for me, it's still pretty new, and you just definitely need a car back home. Here, you don't need a car. It's amazing. You can take a train or a bus or take a bike. Like, I feel like that's probably why Americans have that reputation as well for not being as healthy, because taking a bike is just not as practical as having a car back home.
It's not only just not practical to have a bike back home, it's actually dangerous because the streets aren't made for bicycles. And one of my German friends back home who was living there, he actually got hit by 2 cars on his bike because there was only one really busy road that led to the other city that he had to get to, so it seemed like he didn't have a choice if he wanted to use a bike. I even met another German who was studying abroad at my university back home who had to leave early. He got there 3 weeks and was hit by a car on his bike and he broke his arm.
But here it's more practical to have a bike in many instances.
And I feel safe in Germany to ride a bike because the streets are made for bicycles.
This is a little political, but it's nice not having to be scared of a school shooter here. Because from my understanding, it's very difficult to get guns in Germany. As well as, I've heard, ADD medicine, but that's a different topic. But yeah, so it's really nice. Like, when I go home, I'm sometimes a little, like, fearful of just the possibilities. Even though I know statistically it's really rare, but it's still kind of scary, just from what you see in the news and stuff. Germans love ice cream. I was so surprised to see this, like, no matter the season, during winter, everywhere you go, Germans and their ice cream cones. It's so cute. Adults, the children with their ice cream cones, or they're, I don't know, sitting in the cafes just eating their ice cream. Dairy intolerance is not very common in Germany. I think I've noticed that. And back home, if it's the wintertime, no one, barely anybody is getting ice cream. And anyways, yogurt is much more popular than frozen yogurt than ice cream. Here, I have not seen any frozen yogurt places, so I don't think Germans are digging the frozen yogurt trend. So back to the bread thing again. I've noticed there isn't gluten-free here as much, and also, I mean, that's the same with pasta. Back where I'm from, gluten-free is a huge trend. A lot of people are gluten intolerant and they need to be gluten-free, but it's also a trend, and I think people are following it even if they're not gluten intolerant. So here I've noticed though, you just don't see gluten-free, unless I'm just not knowing the translation of this, but like in the pasta section, there'll be normal pasta, and then if you're trying to find something not normal pasta, like for me, I have a sensitive stomach, so I usually try to get something that's not just wheat, because wheat is really irritating for me, I think. So the option here is full corn. So yeah, full corn pasta. But in the US, like, gluten-free means that it's been processed in a factory that has no gluten, and it usually says that.
Gluten-free also implies that it's made out of corn or rice most times.
But here I haven't seen that on any packaging, so I'm curious about people who have to eat gluten-free. I'm wondering how that is for them. Let me know if you're German, like, have you seen gluten-free things, or am I just not knowing what the word is and I'm just missing it? What is the word for gluten-free? If you know it, let me know down below. It makes sense why gluten-free isn't so popular of a trend here, because bread is such a huge part of culture. They can't just get rid of, people can't just give up their bread, I feel like. Like in the US, like, bread has been, my mom growing up would, like, we weren't allowed to eat bread very often, actually. My mom tried to get us to eat low carb as much as possible. And this is, I think, another thing that bugs me about the stereotype about Americans and being unhealthy. Growing up, I had a very strict nutritional household. So foosball versus kicker. So in the US, the game that Germans know as kicker, which is for Americans, or yeah, I don't know if British English uses this as well, but we call it foosball, or it's a foosball table.
Here's a picture of a foosball table, and you can see the caption as well. It says, foosball table, spelled Foosball.
So if you're playing on a foosball table, which is funny because I don't think Americans realize that this is even a German word. At least I didn't until I got to Germany.
But now it makes sense looking at the word spelled in English, Foos. That's the phonetic spelling of the German word.
And of course, in Germany, Fuß is the German word for foot, which is F-U-S-Et, or double S. And when I'm telling a German person who are like, do you want to play kicker? I'm like, oh yeah, you mean foosball? And they're like, no, it's kicker. And I'm like, no, I mean, sorry. I was like, and I try to explain that it's the English word for kicker is foosball, and they're like, no, it's kicker. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what the word is. That's all. It's just the word. Translation. Nothing else. There's no correct and incorrect, I think. It's just how it is. So I've noticed kicker is very popular here, or foosball. Very popular. It's in all the bars. I don't know about how popular this is in the US. For me, I'm not a big fan of most of these types of things, but I'll play it like I suck at it. So maybe I just hate doing things I suck at. I don't know. And then in Germany, there's these you're leaving the city signs with this like cross through the sign. These leaving the city signs, I never knew what they meant until my German friend pointed it out, because I was like, what does that mean? And he told me, oh, it just means you're leaving the city. And I was like, oh, cool, we don't have that back home. Nothing tells you that you're leaving, it just, usually you'll see a sign that says you're entering the city of blah 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 with a population of blah blah blah. That's usually the typical sign. You never see something telling you goodbye, usually. So postmen on bicycles. I don't remember seeing the postman on a bicycle back home, or postwomen. And here I see them on bicycles, and I'm curious as to why that is, because back home they drive in their little teeny tiny little mail card things. Maybe it's because like it's a big city and there's just way more postmen per district. I don't know, but that's cute. Postmen on bicycles, very cute, with a little yellow and black thing. Heated water bags. This was something that I never saw before, though my mom had told me that my grandma used one. I don't know if it's because my family comes from Poland and maybe her mom, who is from Poland, maybe that was shared with her, but my mom, it didn't pass through the generation. So anyways, this heated water bag, which in German is a Wärmflasche, a Wärmflasche. Put a picture here. There was a whole aisle of these in Germany and here in Hamburg of these Wärmflasches. Wärmflaschen, I'm guessing that's the plural. So that's just not a thing in the US, and I love it because I'm often getting backaches, and this has helped a ton. So I really wish that I knew about these earlier in the US. And the last thing on my list is shoes inside of houses. My family back home, we allow shoes inside. We don't even think about taking our shoes off. But I do know some American families, like growing up, I had friends who we took our shoes off. So it definitely depends on the individual for this one. But I definitely think that Germany, I think most households, you take your shoes off. Let me know down below if you're German. Do you take your shoes off in houses or do you not? And I don't know why that is, like why my family didn't take our shoes off. I think because we clean every week anyways. Maybe we just didn't care. I don't know. Oh, and then the shoe tool that takes your shoes off. That for me was new.
As seen in this photo. I guess in English it's called a shoehorn.
My first time visiting Germany in Berlin, I had stayed with a couch surfer, and he had a shoe tool where I was just like, are you using a tool to take your shoes off or put them on? I was just mind blown. Never seen that before, and he thought this was so weird that I'd never seen that before. But yeah, it must be a cultural difference, or it must just be I'm sheltered, and I think many of the things I notice is, of course, due to where I'm from, my experiences, it's going to be different than another American, of course. So this is coming from a maybe more sheltered American. So I hope you guys like this video. I want to say thank you guys so much to my Patreon supporters, my viewers on YouTube. I just am so shocked. Like, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos if it weren't for you guys. And so I just want to say thank you to Richard, Neil, Andreas, Tim, Mike, Guido, Lucas, Peters, Sire, Bernard, James, Patrick, Chris, Christian, Dennis, Dirk, Benedict, Stefan, Marco, Simon, Pa, Thomas, Manuel, Marcus, Moletti, Carl, Matthias, Lucas, Tobias, Marcel, Will, Matthew, Philip, Greg, Klaus, Renee, Peter, Dennis, Tom, Frank, Keith, Kevin, Ralph, Karsten, and Hendrik. I can't believe this many people are interested in my videos. Every day I'm just like, what, how, what? So I'm just so flattered and so happy you guys like my videos. And you guys are funding my studying. It's like, what a powerful thing you guys are doing for me. So thank you so much. I'm almost to my goal, I think, for next year. Things are looking good. I'll get there. It'll be fine. I think with all your guys' support, I'll be good. I'll be here next year, continuing making videos. And
Thank you guys so much again, and I'll be sending out my postcards in the next few weeks, and also I'll be replying to messages and sending out messages too. So see you guys on my Patreon page. Bye! Also, this is super random, but my friend Tori and I made a video together where we pretend to be each other's personalities. So here's a little clip from that, and if you want to see the rest of it, the link will be down below.
Hallöchen, ich bin Tori von I Like Big Bugs. Hello, I'm like here. I'm from America.
I'm from Miami.
I don't sound
I'm trying to be low.
So today we're talking about our recent trip to the movie theater.